Hey Mia, welcome to the Soul Collective. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, love. So happy to be here with you.
Yeah, I'd love to start by asking you, what magic are you calling in and cultivating in your life right now?
Oh my goddess, the magic. I'm actually really my greatest skill, my real gift in magic is healing. And I'm really calling that in right now. I'm in a whole new transitional phase of metamorphosis and rebirth and seeing old traumas and patterns. And so I am in a just like a deep commitment to my healing right now in therapy with somatic coaching, doing a bunch of tantra retreats in Thailand this summer. Just like really, I don't want to have a hot girl summer. I want to have a healing girl summer. I want
Mm.
to emerge from this portal the most powerful, magical, transformed, and transcended version of myself. I've had the most insane grief and heartache in my life over the last 6 months. And so I'm really just, calling in the full phoenix rising from the ashes kind of magic.
I love that so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you perhaps a time in your life where magic wasn't so accessible, like you really weren't in your authentic truth and how you were able to really bring that forward and express it so freely.
Well, my entire young adulthood, I just got chills. I was dead asleep and miserable and unhappy and sad and depressed and riddled with anxiety for pretty much the time I left my like super hippie private school where you were allowed to be magical and unusual and connected to your own essence and truth in a really supportive way. And I went to public school. And so pretty much from then, which I think was like when I was 11 through my early 20s, honestly. So like over a decade, I just tried so hard to fit in with people who didn't have shared values with me. I didn't really care what they liked or were interested. I didn't care about what they liked or were interested in, but I pretended to be interested in it. I let it become those things become my only interests. I abandoned all of the things I was actually interested in. And, they were for losers or for babies, whether it was magic or theater or whatever. And I just left it all behind. And I said, fuck it. I'll just do what they want me to do and be who they want me to be. And it was really hard. It was really, that was like some of the darkest days of my whole life for sure. And it took me healing, which is why I'm excited about diving back into that. But it took me doing the healing work at first on, I mean, for me, I think that inner child healing is some of the most obviously foundational and fundamental, and you can work it throughout your whole life. There's always going to be things you can touch on, but I'd never done that before. And so I worked a lot with that transitional period from private school where I was allowed to be myself into public school where, you're really just kind of taught how to be aligned with the standard, which is like not even a standard that I'm interested in at all. It's not something like normalcy has never inspired me. Like I want to get as far away from that as possible. But so I started healing and I started meditating and I started sitting in the quiet and doing as many practices as I could and seeing healers and getting body work where like I'm crying and screaming this physical trauma being unwound from my body. And and it was a slow burn for me. I wasn't one of those like, boom, she has a Kundalini awakening and then like everything's great and magical after that. It was really a process of, okay, wow, I've touched this thing, or I've deepened to this place, or I've risen to this power or safety or expression. What do I need to do in order to ground that or integrate it or rise higher or look? I mean, man, that particular sixth grade year, I've been back to those moments in like 100 different sessions just because of how many different associations and programs I received from my peers and my environment during that time. And so that was really that was the impetus. I needed healing. And so I sought it. And then it showed me, it opened my eyes and opened doors to a world that I hadn't even known existed.
Yeah. What you're sharing really ignites in me is just the layers of healing that are present for all of us. One might look at your life and say, wow, you've manifested all of these amazing things. You're a multi Hay House author and, just really, up to so many beautiful things in the world. And yet there's more, right? And you recognize that. And I love that because it's such an inspiration that we can continuously unpack, unpeel, remove away that which no longer serves us.
Utterly and completely. Yes, that is exactly my experience. And it is, there's so many layers and so many, yeah, there's so many. I find someone asked me the other day on another podcast, like, do you still have things that come up? I was like, of course, because the more you grow, the deeper you're going to have to dive to do the work.
Mm.
So as you expand, as you like, not even just expand, like I've had all this loss in my life over the last 6 months. Like I've lost everything that I loved and like placed my personal identity and connection on and around my magical cats. My partner and I are uncoupling, which is just absolutely devastating. And yeah, like I did manifest him, and I did manifest cats that I have a psychic relationship with, and I did manifest this multi Hay House deal, and we do live in a beautiful palace on the top of a mountain, and I have manifested so many things. And yet when you reach those high heights, I believe, or my definitely my experience has been that then your reality or your consciousness requires more of you and asks more. And that's what mine is doing of me. Is like, can I, after loving this amazing man for all this time and him being the best thing that ever happened to me, can I see all the ways that I didn't show up fully? Can I see all the ways that I was disempowering or emasculating to him, or all the ways that I wasn't actually the teacher that I was born to be and that I can be for all of my students, but like in intimate relationship, then my own fears and my shame and my pain comes up. It has to. And I just really find that, the higher you go, if you want to feel good at those heights, if you want the true spiritual success, not just societal success, not just financial success, if you want to feel the deep fulfillment of your dreams coming true in your life, it requires you to dive into the depths of your shadow and your darkness and face all the pieces that you might not want to look at, you might not want to admit or acknowledge. Like we had a beautiful little Beltane dinner evening last night, and I got to just really acknowledge all the places where I fucked up and where I did not show up in my highest good. And like, I'm doing that because I want the harvest that comes from the alchemy and the compost of acknowledging that shit and letting it go and allowing it to be what fuels my future. And if I pretend that it's not there, it will never become that food and that nourishment for what I'm here to grow into.
Yeah, so much there. And just a couple things that you're saying that I really just want to shine a light on, which is, I feel one of the commonalities for those that are living such a big life is, to your point in sharing, just the courage to really go into the depths and really into the crevices and places and spaces that, for many of us, we might shy away from, and also just this like through line of retrospect, whether it's relationships or anything. It's like the hindsight of looking back and the tenderness. And I've found in my own personal journey, it's like the reflection on myself of, was I in my highest, fullest expression? That can be the most sensitive, piece of it to look at. And so thank you for sharing that so transparently.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually the biggest part of it. We both know, and for me, there have been signs. Like the reason why I think, like I wrote IntuWitchin, it's like you can't write a book about something and then not get slapped with a deeper lesson, right? Like I had learned up until that point of writing the book, the deepest, greatest lessons with my intuition. And then what has happened literally since the book came out and like since losing anyways, it's been a whole process, but is exactly that. It's like, okay, who I have been is offering me something even more. Like I needed, if I really, like I was getting signs over and over again throughout the whole of our partnership. Like even when we were signing the lease on this home that we live in, I was on a road trip in Montana and Idaho. And I'm like talking to the landlord, and he's just kind of a dick. And he's just got all these weird things, but it's this big, beautiful house, and we want to host people, and we're, in this amazing next level of our lives, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm driving through massive wildfires
Mm.
everywhere, like huge plumes of smoke and whole hillsides on fire. And I'm driving through and I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, I don't know, I have not a great feeling about this. It's like, girl, you wrote a book about the signs and symbols and the language of the universe and how it's communicating to you at all times. You're surprised that your life burned down in this house when like God was trying to tell you.
Mm.
And I think that that's really such an important aspect for us all to look at, is like, it doesn't mean that you're not there, or that you haven't accomplished amazing things, or that you haven't grown and become someone different and someone better than you were before. I absolutely am. But I am getting to see all the ways that I ignored my intuition, all the signs, so many clear signs where like I could have left and gone and taken care of myself and found whatever the healing and then like the partnership that was even more aligned for me. And instead, I stayed because I was afraid, and I got angry at him for me staying and for me not listening to my signs and for me not listening to my higher alignment. And it is just, it's a mind fuck, the hindsight. It is so wild. Like I was never mad at him. I was mad at myself. And yet I certainly acted like I was mad at him, and that's something that I think we all do in our wounded selves, is like we project the
Mm.
thing that we don't want to see within ourselves. And that's what intuition is all about. Not the projection, but as within, so without, as above, so below. And I wrote this thing in my journal today. I was reflecting about it, and it was like, I always felt this thing about, oh, he doesn't want to do the deeper spiritual growth work because I'm not worth him doing it for. And that's actually like my pain point of, I'm not worth making extra effort for, or like, I'm not worth you doing X, Y, or Z for. And so then there were so many moments where, even though he was so worthy of my love and so deserving of my care, where I withheld my care and made it about like, oh, because he's not doing that thing that I want him to do, I'm not gonna do the thing that he wants me to do. And it's just these like wild, vicious cycles that, I think we all get into. Like, that's why relationship is the greatest dojo for our trauma. It's the greatest
Absolutely.
reflection. And I could never have I could never have seen all of this so clearly without us finally uncoupling.
Mm.
I've learned more from this, the magic of this uncoupling and what I get to do in my healing, like what's required of me, than I learned in the whole relationship, honestly.
I can so deeply relate to that. I mean, relationships are just such profound teachers, and that is such a powerful example of, how we can project, or how we can get, caught up in relationships where it can be challenging in so many different ways, where they can invite us to grow, and I feel like one of the things that I want to ask you about, because I feel like, it's so easy to, as you said, ignore or overlook those like little glimpses of your intuition speaking to you. What are some of the ways to deepen into that and really make it a practice to live in alignment with what your soul, your higher self is sharing with you?
The thing is especially in what I'm experiencing right now, it's going to whisper to you first. Before it yells and before it screams, it's going to whisper. So can you start to listen to the whispers? And like, one of the things that I've been doing is, where if I see something in my house and I have like even a glimmer of, oh, I should, whether it's, take that with me or pack that somewhere or like put that somewhere else. Or, even like the other day, it was something, it was like a glass, and I put the glass down and I was like, oh, I shouldn't put that right there. And I was like, it's fine. I'm going to be here for 1 second. It's all good. And like, I kicked it over, 2 minutes later, and I didn't break the glass, but I spilled the thing all over. And when you make your $35 smoothie with all the supplements and all the things in it, I was like, girl, this is why. And so that's actually the easiest, is in the smallest, sometimes like most insignificant little things, listening. And so I've been doing that with like, oh, if I feel I should grab my computer charger. Like I did this, I was using a mic the other day and I needed a mic, and I needed to grab it at, like 9:02, but I was like running and going somewhere else. And then my partner was in having a call and I couldn't like go in and get it when I actually needed it. And it was just like these. So that is the strongest, most important thing, is like, start with the whispers so that it doesn't have to yell at you.
Mm.
Let it know that you will listen to the whispers, that you will pay attention, that you are open to receiving this guidance, and that it can trust you. That's like the number one. I just got full chills again. Like I'm doing the same thing myself. Like that's my practice right now, is even the tiniest inkling that I have about anything, I'm like listening immediately. And if I notice myself brush it off and say, no, it's okay, I'm like, excuse me, no, like, hi, go do that right now. Like put that away, or deal with this, or text this person, or whatever it is. And that's the best way to strengthen it. Now, some people are going to experience it differently. Some people feel it, some people hear it, some people see, like you get your eyes drawn to the candle you need to put out, or the whatever it is, like the thing. And you have to learn what the best mode is for you. So it's funny because like I don't have a ton of clairvoyance. Like when I'm leading clients and students through subconscious visualization and trance state and like doing healing on them, I will often get visuals of what they're experiencing, but I don't get like, visions of, unless I'm in my channeled state with my clients. But when I'm here in my house, I'm like, I'll hear the little nudge, I'll hear the little voice, right? And so some people are going to hear, some people are going to, they're like, oh, I looked at that thing and I got this weird feeling in my stomach. Okay, well, what's the weird feeling in my stomach? What do I need to listen to about the feeling? How do I receive the information from the feeling? And then you can also, I have tons of practices in my book, of course, where you can really use different ways of asking your body, ways of asking your higher self. We can put my free channeled writing practice in the show notes here. This is a really great way to connect with your higher self and your intuition. And you can say, I call upon my higher self, or I call upon my intuition. Please write to me, through me, anything I meant to receive in this moment. And there's a beautiful meditation to really connect you with that ahead of time. And when you receive, whether it's the message from your intuition or from your higher self, you can ask these questions. How do I hear you better? How do I connect with you more? How do I listen more deeply? And it will respond. It will answer.
I love those tips so much. And isn't it funny, when you say yes and you sign up to be a way sharer and a guide to really teach people how to deepen into this work, it's like, okay, universe, like all of the tests to really just, up level and open and deepen into this work in such beautiful ways. And, I feel like it's such a gift to be able to connect on a deeper level with our intuition. So I love those tips and guidance. And, something that I want to ask you about, I know that you have a lot of knowledge around, is kind of the history of the witch wound. And that's something that is so pervasive and I feel like affects all of us really in so many different ways. And so I'd love if you could share just how you see that really being healed at this time.
How I see it being healed at this time is so multifaceted, because all of us who are claiming magic or personal power in any way, you don't have to call it witchery, you don't have to call yourself a witch, you don't have to be a priestess, you're a shaman. It's just reclaiming your power and authenticity, really, like who you are in yourself, what you desire to be. And I love, I've never heard anyone say way sharer before. That's so cute. I love that.
Mm.
So how I see it being healed is, one, us learning to listen to our inner guidance more than the program, more than the trauma, more than, like, that's certainly, you know, that's a big piece of hindsight in my life and relationship. There were so many moments where I could have listened to my higher self instead of my trauma informed behavior. And I didn't. I listened to the trauma. I let the trauma drive the boat. So, like, that's number one, is how can you distinguish between and be discerning of what is actually driving this choice in my life,
Mm.
whether it's how to get dressed or what to say or how to make love or what kind of people you're going to date and you're going to accept into your life and your body, or anything, what kind of job you're going to take, what kind of pay you'll accept. You know, one of my employees yesterday, it's like so weird to call them that because they're not employees. They're like my best friends and my team. They're my team. But we're restructuring her salary. And she was like, yeah, so this is the average and this is what I require. This is where I want to be in my life. And like, this is what I need. And I was like, fuck yes, babe. Instantly said yes. Instantly. Because like that, I know how brave, I know how much courage it takes for her to say that. I know how important it is for her to feel valued. She's indispensable to me. I don't want to lose her. I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that she feels safe and comfortable. But that is something that women, I mean, obviously I'm I think a great boss. I officiated her wedding. So, you know, like, I think that I'm doing pretty great as an employer. But I've learned a lot over the last 5 years of having employees. And so, you know, I think that women having the courage to ask for what they want, it's really hard to do that with like a man who's kind of a dick or like a chauvinist, obviously. So we have to pick our battles. And that's not to say that we should sacrifice what we need or what we desire, but it's like this, it's the same with the intuition. Start practicing. Start practicing saying how you really feel, wearing what you want, doing the kind of work or spending your time the way that you want to spend it. Watch when you know, one of my behaviors with my partner was like settling for breadcrumbs of his time. And that's because he wanted to provide and he's like working and he's so busy and like he's doing all these things, but that was not okay for me. And that was one of those signs throughout this period, is like, I want someone who has the kind of free time that I do, who's not in like the building phase of what they're doing, who has the shit built and it's dialed and this is my empire and I'm good and I can take a vacation with you. We can leave for Hawaii tomorrow if you want, you know, like, and that was one of those things. And so really watching how do you settle? And I want to be clear, like, my man is not, I did not settle on him. He is wonderful and amazing, and my former man now, but like, God bless him. He's one of the best people I've ever met. It's not about that I settled for him or that he was settling for less. It's that I allowed myself to abandon my needs, or I accepted less than I needed, than like I actually require. And we do that. Women do that every day in relationship, all the time. And usually with men who actually don't deserve our sacrifice, you know? And so these are the ways that I believe we can heal the witch wound exponentially and also, you know, quantumly, like expedited
Yes.
quickly, is really saying what we need, because the witch wound affects our voices. Because if you spoke up or out against the church or against the witch burnings, or to try and defend another woman who you knew was not guilty, because like, I mean, yeah, we were all guilty of being witches because like everyone was a witch, and that's where we got our medicine, was from the earth. And like, we've been doing rituals aligned with the cosmos and our astrological bodies surrounding us since the beginning of our consciousness. So, you know, it's like everyone's a witch. So yeah, we were all pretty guilty back then. But if you spoke up or out about that, you were killed, if you had too many resources, if you were abundant, especially as a woman, and you didn't have anyone to like fully protect you against the church, which often would mean like having a whole posse and bribing and paying tons of money for them to not take you out, you were not safe.
Yeah.
And that's really the most important thing for us all to realize, is that our sexuality, our expression, our power, our abundance, all of these essential elements of the feminine, not just in the feminine, but in all people, we're not safe. And so we all have these wounds, and men have the wounds of not being able to protect their women from those times, their daughters, their mothers, their sisters, their wives, whatever it was. A group of cronies would like roll into your house and take your women and burn them alive or drown them or whatever it is. And so men's witch wound is around providing and failure and purpose, because like their one main purpose to provide for and protect us was eliminated from millions of men. If there was 9 million women killed during that time, like imagine all the men in their lives that felt that loss. And so I think that the ways that we heal it are, like I said, it's following the whispers, it's the baby steps. It's like, instead of holding back this truth in this moment, can I say what I need? Instead of accepting that this person is being very clear, like this is what something I see with my clients. And I'm so grateful that I did have a man who was so trustworthy and not a fuckboy and all the things, but like we hear something that someone says, or they tell us very clearly, like, I'm not interested. I'm not able to be in relationship right now. I don't have the time. I don't have the space, whatever it is. And we say, that's okay. And we keep going, or we keep engaging, or we keep texting back. And like, we sacrifice ourselves and we make it okay, instead of saying, you know what, thank you so much for your honesty and transparency. I appreciate you being clear with me. And I'm so glad that I get to move on and be with someone else now.
Yeah.
And especially in our sexuality, that is a really big place where we were just not safe. And that started even before like the real witch burnings, because with the monotheistic religions, the ancient Jews obviously are the ones who became the Christians. And so the first monotheists were some tribes of ancient Jews who were the first ones that went in and were wiping out pagan villages, were killing polytheistic people, were co-opting the resources, taking the fields, people didn't have that much gold until we colonized South America, but like taking the resources, taking the livestock. And those people are who then transitioned into being the Christians. And those monotheists, they created this whole weird, unprecedented, never before heard of rule about sex and lovemaking and it being only for procreation. I'm sorry, but like our bodies, women's bodies are designed to experience pleasure everywhere. Nipples, pussies, ears, necks, lips, like every part of us is like orgasmic when we let it be. And so that's a really big and important place where even, people who have done so much work, I notice, and I noticed it myself, where like you can be as wildly, fully sexually expressed in safe sisterhood circles. I have this amazing tantra community. We've done so many wild rituals together, and I still would feel shame or fear or concern about being the full tantric priestess that I am in my relationship. And so those are the places that we get to really work on healing our own witch wound over and over and over again. And it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of commitment. And the biggest aspect of it is healing the way that we've internalized the witch hunter. So not just taking different actions, but healing and transforming the types of behaviors, belief systems, and programs that are actually hindering us from feeling safe to be in our expression, because we weren't for so long. It's like epigenetic. It's in all of us.
Yeah, it's programmed. It runs so deeply. So if somebody's listening to this and they're like, well, I don't know why, like being in my fullest sexual expression or asking for the raise or telling somebody that I'm upset with them, like all of these little things, it's like, well, this is so deeply programmed to minimalize or to soften or to, people please or whatever the case may be. And I think to your point in sharing, any step outside of your comfort zone into your authentic truth is such a powerful step in the right direction.
Totally. I've made so many steps, and my comfort zone is so big now. Like, even as I'm sharing all of this, I'm like, oh God, am I going to have a vulnerability hangover? Should I not have said all of this? And I'm just like, no, like this is what's true and this is what's real. And I want to be real with people because I care about being true to myself.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? Lie and make it all, oh no, sunshine and rainbows. Technically, the day that we decided to actually officially break up, like, we cried and this whole thing. And then literally out of nowhere, the most beautiful giant rainbow that we've ever seen. It was a
Hmm.
triple layered rainbow, like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. 3 layers of rainbow in one rainbow just came out. And it was like, this is what this is for. Like, this beautiful love that we've had, this pain that we've inflicted upon each other, these lessons that we've learned, the rainbow is coming. And so I think that, we all have to really choose. We have to choose this path of truth and authenticity. And it's hard. It's terrifying. But when you do it, like, my comfort zone is so big now. It's really hard for me to meet my edges because,
Hmm.
like, I'm free.
I love that. And you hold the space and permission for others to do the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you about rage because I feel like this is an important ingredient, of being able to express the totality of emotion. Are there practices or rituals that you recommend to get us in touch with rage and embrace all emotions?
Yes, absolutely. I love rage rituals, maybe a little bit too much. I'm a pretty fiery woman. And so definitely, like, come to one of my castle retreats. We'll be in France, August 7th through 12th, doing rage rituals out in the forest. So I really, really recommend, creating a safe space for yourself. You can do it at home. I like to do it out in nature so that, like, I can just yell as loud as I want. Obviously, I live in nature, so like I can do that at home too. But I love to just be outside somewhere where I'm not going to hurt any beautiful living green plants, gather a bunch of sticks. We actually have a YouTube video up on my channel about exactly this practice. And that's great. I mean, you can hit pillows, you can scream, you can just like stomp your feet, just like kind of giving yourself permission to throw a sacred tantrum, as long as it's not affecting another person, is a really great thing because it gives your inner child that same level of safety that they have. Like, we throw a tantrum as a child because, like, we're expressing an unmet need or we're reacting to something that's been done to us, and we feel safe to just emote and express. We don't have judgment about it. We don't have a story. We don't have shame. And so if you can, like, just do that in your bed, great. But I think also, like, something that I'm really working with right now throughout this process is, instead of letting it go full force and out, I want to look at what's underneath it.
Hmm.
And I have found, in leading countless rage rituals now and so many hundreds or thousands of people through this experience, usually the people who have access to their rage, there's sadness underneath. And the people who have access to their sadness, there's rage underneath. And we kind of choose where we feel comfortable, and we'll feel safe with one. I feel pretty safe with, like, all of my emotions, but I can feel that deep down. And what I've been really working with, again, like more inner child stuff, is, again, like, I was never mad at him. I was mad at myself for not listening and for not, like, moving forward when the signs were clear for me to do that. And so right now, my practice is really just like tuning in, especially like I feel a lot of it in my stomach. Like I feel a lot of like, I get that kind of gripping feeling in my stomach, or get a little nauseous and feeling sick. And in my past, I would have like had a cannabis gummy or like some kind of tea or something, and like tried to settle my stomach.
Mm.
And it's not about my stomach, it's about, or like the physical aspect, it's about this power center. And so what I'm doing right now with my rage, because I have given it so much permission, it has let itself be expressed. It's not suppressed in any way. So I really recommend for people who don't express it and suppress it to like really give it all you've got, like fully go for it. But for me, I'm just talking to that little raging or tantruming child inside of me, and like, what do you actually need right now? How
Mm.
can I be here for you? What can I do to support you in this moment? And sometimes it's just actually being quiet and sitting there and being present and letting her know, I'm here for you and I got you and you're okay. And it's okay that you're angry and I understand. And, you know, whether it's like I'm angry at someone else, or I'm angry at myself, and I get why you're upset, and it's totally okay to be upset. And I'm really sorry, like
Mm.
I'm really sorry. And I do a lot of voice lessons. That's some of the greatest healing, honestly, in my whole life, is my voice sessions. I end up like channeling these songs about rage or forgiveness or whatever. And I was, I went into the last one like kind of worked up, and like, I was like, I don't want to rage anymore. I don't want to rage anymore. I love rage when it incites movements and it motivates people to create change. And like, there is so much sacredness in rage. Do I still rage about the plastic in the oceans and the old growth redwood trees that have 1% left after being logged all in 50 or 100 years? Yes. And I do think that rage for those things is acceptable. But my like voice lesson song was like, I don't want to rage anymore. And I was just like singing like my fucking shit. I was just
Okay.
singing my frustration with myself, or with a reactive emotion. And I think that is, that's also one of my greatest favorite healing modalities. And so if you have rage, put it into movement, dance, scream, make a poem, make a song, like beat a drum, beat your pillow, whatever it is, give it some way to move. And like for me, I don't want to scream and yell and beat things at this moment right now anymore, because I also want to experience softness and let the sadness that's underneath the rage be fully held. And also, I want to learn to regulate even better, and learn to alchemize even better, and learn to sit in the face of that fire and be like, I see you and I know you're here and you're valid and I love you. And this is absolutely safe and welcome here, but we're just going to do it differently this
Mm.
time. We're just going to respond differently. There's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect. I love you, but I'm going to take this on a different path with you right now. And it's these are these things that I'm learning how to do, that hindsight, I'm like, wow, if I could have done this in my relationship, even though it's fine, like we're not, there's no part of either of us that's like, oh my god, we have to stay together and do this. Like we're both, it's so clear and amicable, and we love each other, and we're best friends, and we had a beautiful dinner last night, and just like, it's great, it's time to go.
Mm.
But there's so many of those moments where I got angry or frustrated at him, or it wasn't even at him. I was angry at myself, but I was in my overt, grandiose expression of rage in a way that like didn't make him feel respected because of his trauma with rage as a child. And so, I think it's really set and setting, time and place. Choose where you get to feel safe and experience safety, and where you're going to make sure that anyone in your life can still be safe with you going full force into whatever it is that you need to do.
Yes. What I'm really receiving from what you're sharing is to really make friends with all of the emotions, whatever they are, whether it's rage, whether it's sadness, whether it's, feelings of grief, and to just be there and to learn how to hold space for yourself. And you've offered so many powerful ways that we can channel that emotion through. I love like how you connect also and bring through the elements. I think about rage and I connect it with fire, and fire serves as such a evolutionary, powerful, passionate purpose. And we can make friends with fire. I mean, it's so useful in so many ways, especially when we know how to channel it, how to work with that element in a way that is supportive for us.
Absolutely. And I use this metaphor or analogy of the volcano. It's
Mm.
like the volcano erupts and it's liquid fire, it's emotional fire, it's raging, like it's that blow up, it's like the build up and then it blows up. But with the right time and care and shift of mind, like cooling winds of the mind, different thoughts, not judging it, letting it be safe, the right, environment, water, hydration, maybe it's the tears, maybe it's joy, and the earth, and feeling, using your body to heal, and using your relationships and leaning on the people that you love. That volcano becomes paradise. Look at Hawaii, look at
Yeah.
Tahiti, look at all these beautiful volcanic islands. And yes, we're talking about millions of years geologically, but we have the opportunity to do and be that as well. And that's like really like full body chills this whole interview. I can't believe I'm saying all of this, but fuck it. It's just what's real. And yeah, I really, that's like such an important analogy for me right now. I'm really carrying that in my spell work and in my intentions of like, okay, I have been a volcano before and I acknowledge that. And also, I, as the creator of my reality and everything actually being an illusion and him not even existing, right? Like it doesn't even exist. He's not even real. He's just part of my hologram. He's literally just part of my universal experience of my own divinity teaching me how to evolve. So like if I can take away the blame or the shame or the guilt or whatever in any of that, it's like this is exactly the alchemical formula to turn me into paradise. And I'm going to fucking give that everything I got. I am going to work with the cooling winds and the soothing waters and the healing earth day in and day out until I know that paradise within myself.
Mm. So good. I have tears because that's truly, I feel, such a beautiful way of approaching any and all experience that we go through in this, earth realm, in this holographic reality. And that's such a powerful ingredient of manifestation that you teach and share. I want to ask you about business and
Yeah.
abundance, because I just sense from your energy that you have like such a strong drive to teach, to share, to communicate, to express. I know you do have like Gemini energy in your chart, but I'd love to hear more about where that drive comes from, and then also perhaps like how it's correlated to the flow of abundance in your life.
The drive to teach and share. Honestly, it's just what I'm good at. Like I have an amazing memory. I have Mercury in Cancer, which I thought it was the Geminian thing, but apparently Mercury in Cancer is basically like Dumbledore's pensieve. It's like that your memory and like the intellect and the wit is in the deepest watery sign.
Mm.
And so I just remember what I pick up. If I care about it, I remember it. I remember people's names. Like I have kind of a photographic memory, not completely, but a little bit. And so like, I just remember things so well. And then I tell people what I'm interested in and what I like and what I'm reading about. And so in general, my drive was that, my mantra years ago, I remember my friends kind of like scoffing at me, one friend in particular that I'm like, haha, look at me now, but my mantra was, I just want to get paid to be myself. I just want to get paid to be myself. I want to be able to be exactly who I am and make money off of it. And I think someone said to me the other day that Authenticity does not guarantee success, but inauthenticity guarantees failure. And so I believe that this authenticity, and even, even sharing this depth and level of my own shortcomings right now publicly with like an audience of people that I don't know, that's one of the interesting things about being on social media is like people think that they know you, but they don't know you at all because you don't know them. And they know about you, but they don't know you. But like being able to say all of these things and share what I'm sharing, this is my authentic experience. And it like makes me emotional. Like I am so brave. And I get to stand on that foundation with my little girl and like make her know that she's so brave and she's so courageous. Everything that I do is brave. The woman that I stand as, honoring the archetype of the witch, believing in magic that people have turned into, just for illusion or nonsense and fairy tales and children and all of that. It takes so much courage to be who I am. And, that was one of the pieces in my relationship that like I didn't feel acknowledged for. And I couldn't keep feeling unseen for how fucking brave it is just to be me on a regular day. And I think that I just followed my authenticity. Before I had money, I spent time the way that I wanted to. Like, well, I don't have money to spend, so I'm going to spend my time the way I want. And I would spend it in practice and in learning and in absorb and in reading, right? Like books are such an amazing, obviously, like they're not totally free, but like if you borrow a book from someone, if you go to the library, like YouTube, you can, I'm not a big YouTube watcher, I'm more of a book reader, but like you can absorb so much information for basically no cost. And so before I had the money to spend on more retreats and more healing and whatever, which I spent the last dollar in my bank account on healing things, on voice lessons, on yoga teacher training, on healing sessions, more times than I can count. So I feel like the reason why I have had success in my business, one, is because I am radically devoted to being myself in every way. And because I have followed my pleasure, I've followed my intuition, I have listened to the big guidance. Obviously, I noticed that I wasn't doing that in relationship. And that's, again, like that's the ultimate spiritual dojo. I think running a business, being an entrepreneur, and relationship, I think relationship is just higher because like your business can't look back at you and like shame you or like call out your trauma or whatever. But it shows it to you. It can't like vocally express it to you, but it shows it to you. It shows where your witch wound still lives, where you don't feel comfortable selling, where you don't value yourself, whatever it is. And so I think that I have found success because I am so committed to being myself, and that I did all the things that I wanted to do before I had what I wanted. I was very much in that, let me operate in the vibration of, okay, if I want this thing, who would I be if I had it? What would I be doing differently? How would I be talking to myself? And I really was like, act it till you attract it kind of gal. Like that was very much my thing. Simultaneously, everything that I do in my life, like how I operate in my life, is I only buy things secondhand, or I get them like from the natural world, or I support handmade crafts people and artisans. Like this necklace that I'm wearing was like hand pressed in brass, and I got it at a Christmas market in France from the guy that I was like watching with his smelting thing and like hammering the brass. That's one, it's an amazing story. Two, it's a great necklace. Three, like I want to support this man who is putting his heart and soul into his craft. So in terms of abundance and just like the teachings that I offer, it is really hard for me. I'm gonna like call some witches out here, but like I live in a very conscious community, and the amount of shit that people order from Amazon, put their herbal ingredients into plastic bottles, send people to Amazon for lists of things and get commissions off of that. Just like over plastic, buy this from China, like slave labor clothing from Shein, who like the most oppressive work environments ever. I don't support things like that. Every once in a while, if I absolutely have to, and like I had someone babysitting my cat the other day and she didn't have the right cat food. And I did order an Amazon Prime of the cat food, like if I absolutely have to do it because like she doesn't have time to go to the thing and she's out of cat food and I know it's going to get there between 8 a.m. before she wakes up or whatever, like every once in a while, if I absolutely have to, I will. I just want to be transparent. I've been so transparent. I'm not going to lie and say it never happens. But I do not support the overpollution, horrific carbon footprint, child slave labor, anything that's like made in China. I don't buy it. I am so devoted to the earth and so committed to being in harmony with her that I feel like she has been really the blessing. She's been the one that has, bestowed all of this abundance upon me because I'm never willing to sacrifice her well-being for like my convenience, and every time, even when I did that cat food thing a couple of weeks ago, I checked in and I asked her, I was like, is this okay? I'm traveling. I really don't want to do this to you. But like, and she was like, it's fine. I love you and your cat. Please, like, make sure she's fed, and I got permission in at least the way that when you connect to your intuition, you can feel a yes and a no. You're aware if you're like, oh, she said yes, and actually it's like contraction. You're like, oh no, you can feel that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that the most important aspects that we've lost in our modern world is that like we're not meant to be consuming all the time. We're not meant to be just like voraciously accumulating stuff. Like, I'm so excited as we're like moving out of this place. Oh my God, I'm going to sell so much stuff. I'm going to donate. I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to put like I'm like, get rid of all this stuff. I don't need any of it. I mean, I'm going to keep like, my cloud couches and like some of the good stuff, but all my crystals, obviously, my owl wings, but I think that has been the greatest reason why, I didn't do any marketing in my business until like a year and a half ago. I didn't have everything was organic and, up into the high multi six figures, very easy because I'm being authentic to myself. I'm doing what I'm good at. I'm doing what I'm passionate about. I'm doing what I love. I'm sharing things, like this is a perfect example of I'm sharing what I'm learning and going through in order to help support people. And those are the kinds of people that come and become my one-on-one clients. They're like, I'm going through that. And now you're, leaps and bounds or even just a few steps ahead of me. Can you help me? And so I have found that being transparent is in fact a great service because so few people are brave enough to do it. Yeah. And so I think that, it's harmony with the earth. It's acknowledgement and awareness of your footprint, of how you're operating. If you're blindly consuming or sending people to Amazon to buy stuff, or, like never composting your organic material, which is so people like, oh, I can't compost. I'm like, just literally throw it outside. Just throw it outside, like anywhere. You could throw it into a bush on the side of a city street. And it's better for it to be there than in your garbage can. It's you can figure it out. And I think that that's also one of the pieces that sets me aside and apart and makes me and my business kind of an anomaly, is that I will make the extra effort. I will take the extra time. I will do the additional step or 2 or 3 or 4 to continue my alignment and service to the earth. She is the mother we all share. We are nature. Literally, our body is these bones. These are the stones in the mountains. And this blood is the water within us. These are the rivers and creeks and streams. And we are inhaling and exhaling and exchanging air with the plant kingdom all day, every single day. And that fire There's electricity running through us, making our hearts beat. It's why we call what properly functioning neurons do is firing, is because we are made of the elements. And then the fifth sacred thing is our spirit. It is our soul. It's the thing that unites all of us and also makes us unique. And so I think that the more that we can be aware of our oneness with nature and not toxify our bodies and not toxify her body, and know that when we do one or the other, it is a reflection. And so any toxifying of her is toxification of us and vice versa. And that really guides different choices. And so I think that, you know, I remember my mom, like when I first really committed to the secondhand thing, she was like, I just can't believe like you wanted all the Prada bags and all this shit and used to be like, oh, thrift stores, like they smell weird. She's like, that you're fully on this secondhand thing now. And for me, truthfully, I feel more abundant doing it. It feels better to me to buy something that I know I'm not creating more shit and more stuff, especially like a lot of furniture is made out of wood, like cutting down more trees. It makes me feel so good to know that I'm not doing that
Yeah.
to her. And so that has really been a huge shift and the way that I relate to abundance. And that's why I give people in all of my money. I have like, you know, low cost money magic ritual that's amazing. And then a higher, deeper program called Witchy Rich that's really like unwinding your mindset around money and doing inner child work and working with your inner masculine and your inner feminine and all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them are so much about inquiry about our habits. Like, how are we operating? What are we doing? How are we perpetuating scarcity in our lives? And then when we can make different choices, that's when we attune ourselves to that conscious vibration of abundance in the universe.
I love that so much. Where can people go to learn more about your offerings?
Everything is Mia Magic, MIAMAGIK. So just like this, my book, IntuWitchin, is available everywhere books are sold. I have retreats at castles and in the redwoods for a little more rustic experience, but everything is Mia Magic, Instagram, YouTube, website, MIAMAGIK. And there's so much magic available for whatever type of experience you want to have.
Oh, I love that so much. I just want to honor you and thank you for your bravery, your courage, your transparency, all the magic that you share.
Thank you so much, love. Such a pleasure to chat with you today.